We always come in with a laugh every time we start the episode, right?
Totally.
Episode 28, no less. So, Enrique, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so today's video is more just general topics of Magic.
Yes.
A little bit here and there, and kind of bouncing all over. Not necessarily focusing on Magic cards, though I understand you have a list that we may be looking at soon.
Oh, yes.
A list of cards indeed. That could be very important to some people.
Yes, indeed.
All right, nice. But before we get to that episode, we're going to do this episode. And this episode is 28, and it is, well, here, I got my first dislike. Yes!
What?
That's awesome, dude. Somebody cared enough to say, Now, to be fair, it was not a Tibalt's Apprentice episode, per se. It was a gameplay video that I had done.
Better not be.
It was. So it was a gameplay video.
That explains it.
And so they didn't give me, they gave no particular reason, and I'm absolutely convinced that it was somebody that refused to kneel before Zod. And, he saw the power of Matt Saxton, and he was probably somebody I crushed underneath my thumb. I'm sure.
Probably. They're like,
probably
let
so.
me look up this username on. He has a YouTube channel.
But I joke, but to a point, which is, well, first of all, I don't care that it's a dislike, because somebody indeed actually cared enough then to go, nah, I didn't like this. I don't like the explanation why, because I'm looking to make things better.
Too bad they didn't comment.
Exactly. I'd have loved to hear it.
Was it because of a misplay?
Wow.
Was it because of...
That's going to be in every single one. As a matter of fact, the title of the video was the fact that this deck plays awesome, even though I don't. So that's a very accurate statement. But anyhow, and you would appreciate it because it has the flame. What is it? Flame Maw. What's the dragon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Drekaseth?
Yes. Yeah. The flame.
Maw
Flame. That's it. Yeah. I'm putting that to very good.
Here?
Yes, that'll be right there.
Yeah.
I'm putting that to very good use. Anyhow, but why I bring that up is because the personas of people, and I'm absolutely guilty of this too, but it's interesting the different reactions that people get playing online, or that you get. Specifically, I'm thinking about in Arena, though it can be just in the internet in general. People always feel confident or secure in their anonymity and their ability to troll people or be negative without any repercussions.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay, but what I'm thinking about too is the change in demeanor, and like I said, it's happened to me, and I didn't like that about myself as far as the spikiness that comes out. Now, it depends, again, on the situation, but for example, nothing will set me off like somebody using the emoji and saying, it's your turn. There's only two of us here. I'm well aware that it's my turn.
Yeah.
So I started to think about this, and it occurs to me that one of the problems especially when playing Arena, is a lack of, what do I want to say, a miscommunication. Because I thought about it, when we sat down in a game, and if somebody asks me or says, it's your turn, or I even ask somebody, it's my turn, I don't have that same response.
Right.
It doesn't just push that button. It doesn't trigger me.
Yeah.
So what is that? And it's because I know in the context of what's going on, honestly, when it happens on the game, well, then I start playing slower. Or I'm like, okay, well, I know I can rub this guy the wrong way here, and he'll maybe make misplays because he's in such a hurry. That's probably not the best way to handle it. It's not the most mature way to handle the situation, but...
Or they'll quit themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they'll just rage quit, and I'll get a win. I don't care. But it's something that I thought about, the fact that there's a very different play style. Playing in person is just completely different than playing online.
Oh, yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Not there's one necessarily better than the other, but I would hate to see somebody get discouraged or not understand that playing online is a very different experience. Even like you said with Magic Online, with their predecessor to Arena.
Right.
So
yeah, Magic Arena and Magic Online are two different animals.
right,
And then compared to playing in person, totally different, right?
right,
So the way I think of it is, when you're face to face with someone, you shake hands. You're actually face to face with someone.
right.
You're going to be more cordial typically.
Sure.
It's a social event, so you want to keep in good spirits typically, right?
Right.
Whereas on the other side of the spectrum, we have Magic Arena.
Right.
And it's I mentioned this earlier, but it's very the experience
Sterile?
is very sterile.
Yeah.
Very controlled. You have control of your avatar and the emojis that you can choose.
Got 5 or 6 and that's it.
Right.
You're limited in things you can say.
Like the only thing that you control outside of that is the pace of your play.
Right.
Or the
Pretty
cards
much.
that you play. Right.
Yes.
So it's you touched on it earlier. Like anonymity equals to it leads to trolling. It leads to spikiness even.
Right.
Because it's more of what am I getting out of this experience?
Right.
I'm grinding through these matches so that I could get more points and
Right.
get crack open more packs or whatever, get
Right.
more gold, stuff like that. And so the other person on the other side of the screen is either gonna impede you getting to that, or
Right.
they're gonna go as quickly as you are, grind out as quickly
Right,
as you are
right,
doing.
right.
And then somewhere in between is Magic Online,
Okay.
where Magic Online you're able to type out complete messages.
Sure.
There's a filter.
Right.
That
You can't
is
maybe say
optional,
what you're
right?
thinking.
Like
that's true, yeah.
the filter is optional.
Okay,
right?
I didn't realize
so,
that.
I believe it's optional.
Okay.
And so yeah, there's something in between. Like you're not having the face-to-face, cordial experience
Right.
like playing in person.
Right.
But
You can put
can't
things
just-
within context of what you're saying and stuff, even if it's, can you hurry? Somebody's coming to
Right.
pick me up or something like that.
Right, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Or even the GGs,
Yeah.
like that's appreciated,
Yeah.
And I think even in comparison to Magic Arena where you just click on good game or something like that, GG has a little more weight to it because the person is actually typing that out.
I was just
and
going to say,
hitting
9 times out of 10, if you get a GG in the game, I'm immediately suspicious because they lull you into that false sense of security. Or maybe I've done the same thing too, where I'm like, oh, he thinks he's got me. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and throw a good game out there, and maybe he'll commit all of his creatures to attack me now. And then I can, wipe the board. So that's another thing.
Sneaky.
Yeah, but that's how it goes, you know what I mean? And so that brings up the fact that this past week I went and played someplace else.
Oh yeah.
I kind of feel like I'm confessing to a girlfriend that I cheated. So I went outside our play group and I actually went to another local game store. And I sat down and played there. And that experience too was completely different. I went into a place where nobody knew me. Let's be honest, nobody really knows me here either. But I went to a place there where nothing was expected of me also. I walked in with my box of cards, a few commander decks, and sat down, was absolutely welcomed with open arms. Sat down for a 5-man pod, well, man, woman, person pod, and got a chance to play. And it was a fascinating and eye-opening experience. Because while I've spent a lot of time over the past year or so studying the game, planning, doing this, I think I've mentioned before and stuff that I find myself now, that I played enough games where I can step back and be more of an observer. So even playing in a new group of people without knowing anybody there, I was able to step back and analyze a little bit better what was happening. And I was surprised to find that I was freed to be a different player than I'm in our group. Because when you play with the same people for a long period of time, or a number of games, I think everybody tends to fall into a rut. Even though you may play each game differently, you might play with a different style, you're still going to be you within that context of that group. So for me, it was interesting to sit down without there being any expectations put on me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of like you came in like tabula rasa.
Yeah.
Like like you were a clean slate to these people.
Right.
Basically, you can fill in the role that you want to fill in, I guess, or
Absolutely.
that you felt like you needed to fill in.
Now, having said that, I did play Worth the Raid Mother, which means I blasted somebody out of the game for 26 points of 28 points of damage. To be fair, and this was in the game. It was in the midst. It wasn't. I was offered either to play a casual or competitive and stuff, and I played casual. So, just by nature of the group that plays there on a regular basis. The person there said, look, this table is going to be a little bit more casual and stuff. Here's a new player here. We're playing pre-constructed decks here, and we've made modifications to them and so on. These other gentlemen over here are playing a little bit more tuned decks and so on. I chose to go casual and played casual. The Raid Mother is it's a powerful deck, but it's not that powerful. You know what I mean? It's not tuned to the point where for example. When when she usually makes tokens, got the goblin tokens and so on, she brings 2 goblin tokens which comes into play, and then there's other ways of getting tokens in that deck. I only had 2 goblin tokens the entire time, and they got wiped out within the first 5 turns or whatever, and I never got any more goblin tokens.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I mean, it's not a tuned deck. It wasn't played. So later on the board, and to be fair, again. He had an entire full board state and stuff, so it wasn't just like me picking on somebody. And it wasn't even the best play of the game, probably. But I was happy. I got to do something. Like 28 points of damage, I think, is what it was. But here it brings up another side note to what we talked about. What commander did you say you were going for 2019, possibly?
Oh, the Naya commander.
The Naya commander.
So the big fat tokens.
The big fat tokens. Now, is that she's not the one that makes She the one that brings in the morphs?
No, that's the Sultai one.
That's the Sultai one. So I'm thinking of the Sultai one. So just as a word of advice, well, not that I'm threatening anybody, but Sultai absolutely makes you arch enemy. Morph creatures, like I learned and discovered in watching that game, it kind of makes you arch enemy and stuff because nobody likes not knowing what's under those things. And so they're going to ping you and poke you and prod you until you turn those over and so on.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's my opinion of stuff. We'll see here. So that was my experience playing someplace else, was great. So here's the other question that I have, though, kind of tying all these loose things together. What advice do you have for a new player? Maybe somebody that's coming in and their entry point is Arena. Because Arena's great as a tool.
Yes.
We talked about that, and it's fun to play, etc. So we won't get into the red tape and the money aspect and so on for it. Because, anyhow, we're not getting into that. So, what were you going to say about that, though? What advice would you have for that person?
Okay, well, if their first exposure to Magic is through Arena... my piece of advice would be to find a local game store. Find an L.G.S. Simply because, so before that, I would ask the question, why do you play Magic?
Right.
In that case. Oh, I play it because, I wanted a game to spend some casual time on. Okay, fine. Arena's fine. You can play it for free.
You can play it for free, and you can spend hours doing it for sure.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And you'll spend a lot of time on Arena and have some fun. But the L.G.S. experience is way different, as we mentioned before. Right. So You know, there is something missing from the online experience, and that's the sense of community and
You know what? So you said it was sterile, and there's even simple things like the terminology of what's going on. Because Arena plays so quickly, and I mean, I appreciate that, and I'm assuming we appreciate that because we've played it. We know what's going on. We know how we're moving through the phases.
Yeah.
But the game maybe tells you briefly but unless you absorb all that stuff, tapping a land. What is tapping? Tapping is turning your cards and stuff. So there's terminology, there's language. Like you said, there's community. There's a community there that you're not necessarily getting. And maybe that's not what you want. But if you do, I just think it's a better experience. And I'd hate to see somebody get discouraged over the losses and so on.
Yeah. Well, that's where mentoring comes in.
Yes.
Meeting someone at the L.G.S. who could be your mentor, or even like starting with a play group, maybe friends that you already have and you decide to play Magic together, and you kind of like mentor each other in a way. Like you're like rivals and mentors at the same time.
Sure.
I had that experience when I first started playing Magic and kind of learning how to play with another player who was starting at the same time. And so just having that experience, building on to that 2-player group into like a 3-player, 4-player group, then having
expanding that circle,
then having a club, it was kind of nerdy, but we had a Magic club at high school.
That's awesome. And I wish to a certain point, I wish that I had that same experience. And not everybody has that. Not everybody has a local game store or people to play with. So for a lot of people, Arena is going to be the best experience that they're going to be able to get. Though it might be worth it to do, to find those other things, to find those other places to play. But it also brings up another thing, which is that when you're playing in that environment, you're playing against other people that are trying to grind out points and so on.
Oh, yeah.
And you're playing a much larger meta game where you're playing arguably the best of the best. Now, I'm not saying everybody's a pro player on there, and I'm not saying the ranks, whether it be bronze all the way up to mythic to diamond, anything in between there is accurate in real life. But you're playing other people whose only goal is to churn through their cards and stuff too. I mean, people may be playing for other personal reasons, but you're playing a larger community. And I guess my point is you're going to see the best of the cards. And this is why I keep going back to the fact that Arena is a great tool.
Yes.
Because you can see so that's what I have done. I've worked on my deck, and it's allowed me to pick just the cards that I need to buy, instead of having to buy and grind out. And we don't get enough time to play Magic. I don't think anybody ever does. Anybody that really loves the game, I don't think you're ever going to say, I've got too much Magic. You might.
Never enough.
But we can't buy or spend. We don't have unlimited resources either. So, we can't. So this is a tool, and the losses that you get online don't necessarily translate to the losses that you're going to get in real life. And I think that the wins that you do get online can transfer over to real life, or at least they did in my case, because I got to play against such a wide variety of opponents that when I played with a very small, limited pool of opponents, I can do a little bit better now. I'm learning. Anyhow, that's my goal. My goal is to learn and to be a better player myself, and by extension, help other people be better players too, maybe.
I think extending, as you mentioned earlier, like extending your losses in game or in Arena onto when you're playing in person. I think you could do that. Like learn from your losses in game.
I guess what I meant by that more was the fact that if you lose online, doesn't mean you're going to lose in person.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? I don't think you're going to carry those losses with you into a game. That Maybe if it's a bad deck, it's a bad deck.
Yeah.
But if you have a good deck that plays fairly consistent online, if you take that same deck and play it in person, it's not necessarily going to perform as good, or you know what I mean. So there's a certain amount that can carry over, a certain amount that can be learned, and yes, you can absolutely learn from your losses for sure. That's how I learn the best. But at any rate, so like I said, not a whole lot of Magic cards here to display this time, but just a little discussion about Magic, the game that we love so much, and plan to play indefinitely. Yeah,
Could talk about it for hours.
for hours and hours. Now,
But we'll spare you that.
well, we'll lead into another episode, is what we'll do then. It seems like you had a list of cards maybe you want to talk about.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we'll do that. So in the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. More importantly, if you're in the Manhattan Beach area and you'd like to be on Tibalt's Apprentice, or you'd like to just share some comments or just play a few games with us and stuff, that would be great.
Play some games.
Come on down. We'd love to have
victims.
you. Thanks for watching.